Welcome to T-Smack, home of the T-Smack. May I take your order?
Hey there, hi there, this is The Way There. Welcome to an all-new episode of Talking Smack, where we talk superheroes, movies, animation, comics, and much, much more. I am your host, Josh Scar, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Alex. Alex, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine on this glorious Sunday afternoon. We have a bright sun, a cool breeze, birds chirping, and what better way for us to celebrate it by huddling inside and talking about Star Wars.
Hey man, we've had a lot of rain. I don't like bugs, and I particularly don't like outside when there's bugs. So I'm good with being inside in the air conditioning in my closed house. So I'm a-okay with being in here with you right now.
I mean, maybe we should do like an open concept at your place. Just knock down a wall and just have it open to the outside.
This isn't Australia. That's not what we do here.
Anything good happening?
Anything good happening? No, I was gonna say we don't have too much happening right now, but no witty banter, no stories to tell. So let's hear from Justin over at the Movie Wire and get this show on the road. So Justin, or big voice guy that tells us what Justin's podcast is about, take it away. I don't know which promo it is.
He's on the run from the law, falsely accused of murdering his... Wait. Oh, got my scripts mixed up here. Here we go. This makes more sense. The Movie Wire Podcast with host Justin Henson. Hear Justin's movie verdict wherever you listen to podcasts. Tune in to The Movie Wire today.
And we're back just like that. Things are moving along at a brisk pace. At this rate, we're going to be done with the podcast in about 10 minutes. So we are here to talk about the first Star Wars release in theaters in 7 years since The Rise of Skywalker, The Mandalorian, and Grogu. First and foremost, Alex, thoughts. Did you like the film? Was it good in your opinion? Did it hold a torch to either the standard of Star Wars, or just was it a good Mando adventure?
This is such a complicated movie to try to digest because we are dealing with a cultural touchstone that admittedly I think everyone can admit is fading. There's some tarnish on it, you know. You have different generational feelings on, you know, the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy, the sequel trilogy, the TV shows that have been emerging from it. And as you said, this is 7 years since we've had a Star Wars in theaters. And when The Force Awakens came out, Disney was announcing like Star Wars is a thing again. We are going to do yearly releases, and this is the way forward. And since then, you know, they released The Force Awakens. We had Rogue One, which was a huge hit and very well received critically as well as audience. And then The Last Jedi, but then we had Solo, and then we had Rise of Skywalker. Everything since basically Force Awakens has been diminishing returns. Then they did a pivot during after Rise of Skywalker. They're like, okay, we're doing a pivot here. We own December, and what we're going to try to do here is we're going to do 1 year a Star Wars movie, the next year an Avatar movie, and we're just going to, and they announced this, you know, big press thing. They announced this, and that didn't happen because all those Star Wars movies, however many have been announced, have all been shelved. And Avatar is not an every other year franchise because James Cameron's such a damn perfectionist. It's like every 5 to 3 to, we'll say 3 to 7. It's how he feels about his movies. Because right now it was 2 years between The Way of Water and Fire and Ash, and it's going to be 4 years until the fourth one comes out. And even though he's already filmed like a third of that movie, and he's been talking about how, well, you know, it's a bit of audience changing expectations, cultural shifts. I have to figure out how to make these movies in half the time and half the budget because Disney doesn't want to keep dumping $600 million into it. So I go in with admittedly a lot of baggage for this film because this is Star Wars Triumphant Return. Not only is it return to theaters after 7 years, but this is also returning to May. This is a May release. Summer. Star Wars should always release in May kind of thing. And I saw it with a large group of people. On Thursday, when there were 7 of us, which was the most I've been seeing a movie with in a long time. And after we finished, kind of came out, we did a little post chatting. everyone just seemed to be kind of like the agreement of, it was all right. Which I don't know if that's good enough for a Star Wars film. This franchise is almost 50 years old. We're only 9 main releases plus 2. Well, okay, we have to count I guess if you count Clone Wars, plus 3 additional releases, spinoffs. 12 years. That means somehow we've had a movie every 5 years if you want to do the averages. But I mean, it's not that. There's a lot of gaps in there. So I don't know. It was okay. What are you feeling, Josh?
I thought this was a better season of The Mandalorian than season 3 was. It very much felt like they just went, here, come to the theater and binge season 2.5 of The Mandalorian or something. For the most part, I thought it was fine. Like you said, it's not amazing. I went in with the idea of this being like a kind of like an ongoing anime movie where like they have their seasons and then like occasionally they'll just drop a movie, but the movie is very inconsequential to the larger picture of things. That's kind of what you come out of this with, is it's really just inconsequential to the larger story, especially given the time period it's in. There's no real growth between Mando and Grogu. You get a few new characters that might drop in later seasons, but for the most part, like it's nothing that you couldn't just completely skip and then go into the next season of The Mandalorian and have like a previously on recap. Or I'm sure there will be like, hey, remember that time we went to that synth score city and we rescued Jabba the Hutt's kid from the fighting pits from Thor Ragnarok? Like that was fun, wasn't it? It's fine. It's not as bad as I think some people might make it out to be, just because I think, to what you're saying, Alex, there's a certain pedigree that people have with Star Wars. And I mean, as much as I don't want to admit it, but pretty much since the Disney merger, any theatrical release of a Star Wars, the bar is fine. It's probably going to be worse. I would probably watch this again over the Force Awakens, really over anything that's not Rogue One. But for the most part, it's an okay entry into the Star Wars annals, and part of it is that it's stuck in this era of just after Return of the Jedi, but decades ahead of the sequel trilogy. So, like, what growth and what stories can you really tell that are interesting? And if this was released in between Mando season 1 and 2, I think people would have loved this. But because this is 3-4 years after Mando season 3, and essentially is kind of like a side adventure season 4 or 3.5, like, it is what it is in the streaming era of things. Because like, I'm wondering if this isn't part of a larger business concept that Disney's trying, where instead of plugging in $300-500 million into each season of The Mandalorian, maybe they can plug in 160 million and do a movie every 2 to 3 years, which maybe that's going to be a higher yield for them. But as far as I can tell, this is really just meant to be a one-off, and it does its job. There are parts that we'll talk about where I feel like it really could have just trimmed a lot of fat and it still would have been fine. There's not a lot of room to make things great in this film, but it's absolutely okay for what it is.
I don't believe that we are talking down about the movie. I think it's just, as you said, there's a pedigree with Star Wars films. The original trilogy came out. Yeah, we got some cartoons, we got books, but to hype up the release of the prequels, they did their special edition releases. And those made tons of money when they came out. And then the prequels came out and they made a ton of money. Even if adjusting for inflation, you're talking about the Revenge of the Sith, I think made $900 million on release, which nowadays would be like $1.3 billion, if not more. So people did flock to those movies. It wasn't like The Phantom Menace came out and then each film did worse. I mean, I think there was a little bit of a dip with the Attack of the Clones, but Revenge of the Sith was a huge movie. And then there was that nice little lull, and we had about 12 years, and then Disney started doing their releases, and The Force Awakens made like 2.2 billion because there was that hype, there was that hope, there was generational hope in those films, because it wasn't just that, oh, this is a new story. No, this is Luke and Leia and Han are all back. This is a new release. You're getting the grandparents and children. You're getting everybody back to see this. And so with that, there does come this pedigree that you're wondering, what is this going to be? Because if they announce like the first James Bond spinoff of, we're going to follow Q Branch or something like that, we are expecting, as Bond fans, quality. We're expecting something there. We're not really expecting a lower budget kind of niche release like this. And I say niche because The Mandalorian is their flagship Disney show. All 3.5 seasons of that, because you have to count Book of Boba Fett, are their most watched ones. Osaka and Acolyte did not do very well in terms of ratings. So I think if you go in with lowered expectations that you're watching, oh, no, this is not a Star Wars movie, this is a Mandalorian TV movie, you're going to have a great time. There are adorable moments in there. There are good fight scenes in there. There are actually things, one of the things I was actually impressed about right off the bat was I was very, very happy that the third cast member named in the opening credits was a stunt double. That made me thrilled because it went Pedro Pascal, Jeremy Allen White, and then Brendan Wayne, who is the main body walking double of the Mando. And then the fourth one was the action double. I forget that person's name. I just know Brendan Wayne because he's John Wayne's grandson. I mean, so he's got that swagger John Wayne walk, cowboy walk going, I was like, wow, can you imagine a Star Wars release where the second listed person is the dude in Vader's costume? They wouldn't do that, but they kind of had to because it became a very open secret that Pedro Pascal's not in the suit that much. He just isn't. He's a busy boy. And some spoilers that just came to mind, when we do get Mando out of the helmet for the obligatory
I mean, it's not
sequence,
much of a spoiler. It's in the trailers.
Yeah. Oh, it's true. That's his head's, they show his helmet off and then they give him the worst job. Pedro, hey, listen, you're going to be here for like 2 weeks. You're going to be in a water environment being thrown around a lot by digital tentacles. Okay, man. Like you're going to earn that voice acting paycheck. So I think you're right. I think if we just lower the expectations, like this is not Star Wars 10 or 11. This is an offshoot. This is a quality that we can come to expect from an elevated TV movie. I think you'll be a lot happier. And that's how basically I felt about it. Was once my expectations were definitively lowered down, when I realized most of this was filmed on the volume, we're not going to get practical sets. We're not getting outside shot locations. This is all filmed around LA and in the volume. And this is a continuing adventure of a little snippet. Like I think you had the perfect thing when you said that this is an anime. We had 3 seasons of the anime. We're getting the anime movie. Depending on how this is doing, we're either going to get season 4 of the anime, or we're going to get another anime movie. I think that is the perfect representation of it because this is a $160 million movie. It is not the $400 million that the Star Wars movies got, not like the 500 apparently Solo got because they did the massive reshoots. This is a little bit lower budget movie.
They shot that movie
not
twice.
A lot of practical effects. Yes, they did. And I want to see that first cut because they were like, what, a week or something from it being finished?
They were really close to wrapping production. And then, Alden Ehrenreich was like, I'm not an improv actor. I can't do these things and they're making fun of me.
Yeah, and they got Ron Howard, and Ron Howard, rumor was he got paid bank and back end, which
Lawrence Kasdan really Ron Howard came in to be the name on it, but like Lawrence Kasdan and his son were more or less the directors.
Yeah,
Ron Howard was just there as like damage control.
Yeah, I think you'll be happy. I mean, there were adorable moments. There was some decent fighting. The only thing that really truly bothered me about this film was the lack of physical sets, because there are moments where the Mando walks in to talk to the Hutts and you can tell he's looking at a projection on screen of the two Hutts on not the pram, the elevator platform they're on. They're just up there, and I'm like, that is you can see the curve of the set on kind of wavering the bodies a little bit as they're laying there. I'm like, this was a digital effect on the volume for him to react to, and they did not do enough touch up.
That really just triggered something for me because Mando is really kind of, unless you count Grogu, Mando is really the only person ever on set at any given time, unless there's like motion capture artists for Zeb and Rotta and the Hutts and everything. Like, that's got to be a hard job, and the production can't be that difficult if you're literally just filming on the volume and you just have to like get a carpet in to match the area, and then you'll digitally render over it. So you have like one person walking around and occasionally a puppeteer moving Grogu around, and you have two things to work around, and then everything else is just the body double or the stunt double just kind of like looking around. And then eventually you have Pedro Pascal do the voiceover. Like that can't be a terrible production timeline. And like, where this movie deserves it's probably most dude credit, it is the visual effects hold up really well on the screen. There are very few shots where I was like, ooh, they didn't get a lot of time with that one. And most of them actually revolve around Grogu for those moments where they like CGI Grogu. Like there's the one where he and Rotta are playing in the beach and Grogu's just like running back and forth. It's just like, no, he's moving too weird. Like between the puppet and the CGI, it's like going to Yoda bouncing around in Attack of the Clones after having puppet Yoda for 40 years or whatever. And then the score continues to just be absolutely phenomenal for this series, this franchise of The Mandalorian, and moving into this film where they go to, I've seen people call it the Blade Runner planet, which essentially it is. It's just a bunch of neon lights and rain and just
Nal Shadar,
dampness.
Vegas planet, basically.
Yeah. But like there's this really great transition moment where he's taking the Razor Crest down through the atmosphere, and it just transitions as you break through the cloud barrier into that synth score, and they like really make sure you take the time to notice it. And it's like, ooh yeah, that triggers something for me.
Yeah, the Mandalorian music, like Ludwig Göransson did Sinners, has done the Mando. Amazing, does amazing music. Anytime I see that name, I get excited. He knows how to, like, that theme, the Mando, and the little chimes and stuff that happen. It gets your blood flowing. It gets you happy. It gets you excited that the Mandalorian is going to be a badass and do some stuff. And the other themes that they weave through are just so good. The story is the reason why this feels like you said, just like a side quest or like a shortened season is there really is about 3. If this was a season of a show, it would be the entire season, because you have a nice 11-minute action sequence to start it off with where they're on not Hoth, even though they have AT-ATs, and you see the remains. You see the remainder of the Empire still trying to do some crap because, like you said, this is right after Episode 6, about 20 years before Episode 7, and right, that's where the little Mando verse and the Osaka verse is right now.
Yep.
So he's bringing in a bounty, and you get like a nice 12-minute action sequence, and I'm good with that. That felt good. That reminded me of the first episode of Mandalorian, where he walks in to get a bounty, and you showed this is the Mandalorian. He knows his stuff. He's a badass. He handles crap. He's the kind of person who walks in solo into a compound, and he walks out with his bounty. And I love that. I love, especially after season 3, where they really just beat up Worf to him constantly to raise the esteem of Bo-Katan and the others, that they restored how badass he is. They reset it like, hey, he's still a badass. Don't worry, guys. And then after that, turns to the bounty of Sigourney Weaver, what did you think of her performance? Because she's like a rebellion general,
she's
colonel.
She fought in the rebellion. She's an X-wing pilot who's now kind of like heading one of the bases in their cleanup efforts to rid the galaxy of the remnants of the Empire. I thought she was fine. I don't think she did she wasn't given much to do. Apparently her whole thing was that she required to be in this film that she have a scene with Grogu, which like they put
Was
that
a good scene?
entire scene they put that entire scene in the trailers. But I thought she was fine. I was just really happy, which we'll move into spoiler conversation at this point. I was just really happy my guy Zeb got a lot of screen time. I
Dude.
am always here for when Star Wars Rebels gets its due. And Zeb, although he looks horrendous in certain shots, like he is not a pretty creature in regardless, but like there are some shots where he just does not look great. Um, I thought his action sequence when they were raiding the one facility was so good, and bringing back Steve Bloom, I'm extraordinarily happy for, because we've talked about this ad nauseum, and I'll get into it later. Bringing in face actors to replace voice actors who brought a character to life initially. I'm looking at you, Ashley Eckstein, who was replaced by Rosario Dawson. Obviously, Rosario Dawson has a completely different physique and aura about her than Ashley Eckstein does as Ahsoka in the animated show, but the voice is just a little bit off for me. And obviously, Ashley Eckstein probably can't do the role of Ahsoka properly. So, like, I understand doing Rosario Dawson, but the bringing Steve Bloom back is just such a nice little tip of the hat, proverbial hat, even though Dave Filoni is always wearing a hat, which I'm going to just get into it now. Dave Filoni just egregiously inserting himself as like a Stan Lee style cameo in these shows and in this movie in particular. I don't want to fucking see him. He's Mr. I'm Keeper of the Lore guy for Star Wars. Good for you. You are not fucking Stan Lee. You are not George Lucas. Stay behind the scenes. You can do your Star Wars presentations at Star Wars Con or whatever. That's fine. You are not Stan Lee. You don't need to be inserted into these shows and into these movies to break the fourth wall. To be like, it's Dave Filoni. Look at him wearing his cowboy hat in the Star Wars world. It's silly. Get the fuck out of here.
So the reason why I'm laughing is when they did that gratuitous cameo of like all the like
Twice.
the X-Wing people who apparently are other directors and stuff. I forget who they are. I just know that they're other like directors, writers. And they showed Dave Filoni. Both times in my theater, someone a few rows back went, Filoni. And I'm like, and then like laughed. And I'm like, I know that's Dave Filoni. I the only reason I know what he looks like is because I've seen clips. And when he does go hard on Lucas's lore or his interpretation of Lucas's scripts and stuff like that, I appreciate it. I love competency porn. Like that's part of the reason why I watch The Pit is it's a bunch of people being very competent at their jobs. It's fantastic. And I love somebody, Matt Mercer, I think is on an episode of Actually, where they read basically a combat scenario for D&D and who can point out the most errors in it. And Matt Mercer goes off and he points out all the errors. And then he points out all the errors he saw. And there were supposed to be like 13, but he came up with 15 because he pointed out errors that the person who wrote the script didn't realize they had made. And they're like, we think you win. So I love that. But just the gratuitous cameos of them, I was just like, okay. You cut to them like, because I think the part that bothered me about that is because the first one is when he lands a planet to talk to Sigourney Weaver. And so they show a bunch of like the X-Wing pilots hanging out on the base and you see like a random pan of people, but then they linger like the extra beat and a half on the collection of X-Wing pilots we've seen before, which include Dave Filoni. And I'm like, okay, yeah.
I'm fine. Like if Dave Filoni was just there as an X-Wing pilot, because we've seen him. Yeah. I think he was one of the pilots that rescued Mando out of the cave at one point in season 2. But like you have Paul Sun-Hyung Lee, who most people would probably know as the new Uncle Iroh in the live action Netflix Avatar show. He has been like the pilot, the X-Wing guy, the contact, the Phil Coulson for Mando since season 1.
Yeah.
And he literally gets like 4 seconds of screen time and has no lines of dialogue. You can't give that line to him, the professional actor who's been here since season 1 on screen. Like, I know Dave Filoni's been doing his thing behind the camera as a producer and whatnot and keeper of the lore. But Paul Sun-Hyung Lee has been the guy with Mando. And for whatever, like, I'm fine with them bringing Zeb in as like his new handler or whatever as part of this movie. But he should be given his due in this film. He's more probably the guy who brought Mando to the New Republic's attention in the first place. And yet he gets not even a gratuitous 2 to 4 seconds on screen and no lines. Like, fuck you, Filoni, for not letting an actual actor speak some fucking lines.
So my feelings on Sigourney Weaver as Ward, the
Oh yeah,
head
that is
of
what we were talking
base.
about.
Yeah. My issue is I don't think I know enough about her character because I love Sigourney Weaver. Aliens, Ghostbusters, Avatar. She is a horror sci-fi queen.
Heartbreakers. Like,
Oh my God,
doesn't even have to be sci-fi. Heartbreakers, her and Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Yeah.
You've also got Galaxy Quest.
Oh God, yeah, Galaxy Quest. But she's fantastic. I just felt like there was not a lot of meat there because all 3 of her scenes were, well, there's an attack scene at the end where she's in a cockpit, but most of her scenes are she's on base, kind of lecturing Mandalorian for being messy and killing too many people. And I'm like, okay, like I get that, but I wanted to see a little more pizzazz from the character, but I respect her immediately on the screen. I think it's also a little weird that now that we're getting so deep into having so many shows, that when they do cast known actors, to me, there is a little bit of a disconnect still of seeing a known entity in a Star Wars uniform, which is something I'm going to have to get over as these movies continue. Because they're going to do that. You know?
That is a great point, though, because Star Wars, for the most part, casts relative unknowns. Like, no matter what era, until you get into the Disney era, you have people that really had no big social impact in movies until they make it into a Star Wars. And hopefully that character makes some kind of significant impact. Mark Hamill was on like Days of Our Lives for a couple of days before he was cast in Star Wars. Like he had a bit part in some daytime dramas. Harrison Ford's biggest acting credit was American Graffiti before getting Han Solo, and he wasn't even supposed to get Han Solo. And so I think that what you said is a really great point, that the stunt casting of like, oh, well, it's Star Wars, let's see who we can reel in to be in this. We don't need Sigourney Weaver. Like, is it nice to see her on screen in a Star Wars? Yeah, sure. But she's also in her, mid 70s, maybe late 70s?
Yeah, somewhere in there.
We don't need another Carl Weathers situation happening here, which Carl Weathers wasn't even as old as Sigourney Weaver.
Oh, you made me sad. I forgot he was supposed to be in this.
He should have been in this, yeah, if they had done this properly and filmed this after season 1. But like, that's really bad and short-sighted casting, in my opinion, from the studio, is because you can't guarantee someone's going to live forever. You can't guarantee someone's going to live till tomorrow. But casting a near octogenarian to be in a franchise like they did with Harrison Ford in Captain America 4, not great foresight, because you have increased odds that tomorrow that person is not going to be there. And so, like, why, if we're 5 years after the end of the rebellion against the Empire, why do we have a 70-something-year-old general who is also an X-Wing pilot? Like, you can find younger actors who are in their 30s and 40s that probably still carry some kind of weight when people see them, or, you can write them as an actual fucking character instead of letting the gravitas of the social understanding of the person behind the character do the work. But what you said is a great point, though, that casting so many celebrities in these roles really means you're banking more on the name of Star Wars than you are the quality of the product. And that's what we've been talking about with the MCU as well for a long time. Like Eternals was kind of that pivot point for them where they went from we're casting relative unknowns, we're casting lesser known people that fit the roles. And then all of a sudden they just went all-star cast with Angelina Jolie and Rob Stark and so many other people that a Jonas brother is here now.
No,
Okay,
I
so
forgot about that.
we've jumped the sharks. So I guess this is done because you have no faith in the actual script or characters that you're putting out there now. So you're just like, come see this movie for Angelina Jolie in a superhero costume.
This, I think, is the first Star Wars movie that had acting credits before the end credits. So we got a traditional kind of title sequence thing going. We saw Martin Scorsese pop up, and I went, Martin Scorsese? That's weird. I realized I have no idea what Martin Scorsese actually sounds like. So I had to wait for the title for the end credits to see which character he was playing, because I know what he looks like, so it didn't appear on screen. And then I got my phone, wrote in Martin Scorsese and the character name, and thank God for Wikipedia, because it then told me in the Mandalorian Grogu movie, Martin Scorsese voices the street vendor shopkeeper person.
The food truck guy, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Food truck guy. I'm like,
as soon as I had the exact thing. I saw Martin Scorsese got credited ahead of Steve Bloom of among other things, which bullshit. But yeah, as soon as I went back and I looked at the image of the character, I'm like, oh, the eyebrows are a dead giveaway.
Oh, I should have realized that. I should have realized that.
That's them putting Marty, as his friends call him in the business. That's them putting him on screen in some kind of way.
Well, since we're talking about I don't know, stunt casting is the right word. What do you think about Jeremy Allen White as Rotta the Hutt?
Why? Why? I couldn't pick his voice out of a lineup. It's not like you're telling me to which one's Jim Carrey. I couldn't tell you that was Jeremy Allen White. Especially from the bear where he's sitting there with his mouth is pursed and closed as tightly as he possibly can keep it until he's in the kitchen and he's yelling. And then you're doing so many voice modifications over it to give him that Hutt rumble. Why? Why do we need to pay him so much money to not be not be seen and not really be heard? So I'm shrugging because I have nothing other than why.
Because I'm sitting next to my friend and she sees Jeremy Allen White. She's like, "Oh, who's playing?" I'm like, I don't know. I have paid no attention to the casting of this movie. And then as it's going along, I was like, wait a second. He said he was. When I read that he was supposed to be one of the main, and then I realized he was Rotta the Hutt. And as the credits are rolling, she was like, "Okay, so who is he playing?" I went, "Oh, Rotta the Hutt." And she went, "That sounds nothing like him. I've watched The Bear." I mean, hey, I liked Rotta the Hutt. I thought Rotta the Hutt was cool. It's weird seeing a Hutt with a 12-pack. That's a little disturbing.
Yeah, again, seems unnecessary because it's implied that they're supposed to be powerful and strong. So them being Chris Hemsworth jacked is really strange. I know they're trying to convey something visually there, but it's really unsettling. And not in a weird sexy worm guy's making me feel things. It's more just again, why do we need buff Hutt?
Hey, women's books have all kinds of weird things, Taken by the Centaur. There could be a Hutt one out soon, man. We don't know that.
He's one of those sneaky hot guys that they're friend zoned until they take off their shirt in front of the love interest and oh my God, now all of a sudden you're sexy.
So the basic premise of the film is the Mando wants somebody to go to the Hutts because they want to bring in a renegade Imperial called Coin, but they don't know what Coin actually looks like. And the Hutts know where, but the Hutts want him to get Rotta the Hutt, which is one of the sons of Jabba. and Rotta was captured.
The sole surviving son of Jabba. He is the heir to Jabba's criminal empire.
Mando is sent because he's been captured and they believe he's on this planet. So Mando goes to this planet. I said it was like the Vegas Blade Runner planet. Turns out Rotta is actually having a great time. Rotta says, I'm not like my father. I'm not some kind of imperial warlord. I've actually been trained in the fighting pits. I'm kicking ass. I'm taking names. And on top of all that, tomorrow is my last fight, which will earn me my freedom. And I'm going to keep hanging around here and fighting because it's a fun time. Well, Mando's like, yeah, I got to bring you in, buddy. So he goes and tries to buy the contract from some person, get a cool fight sequence with one of the devil-looking guys, which probably, bravo, breaking off the devil's horn. That was badass. That hurts like hell, apparently. Like, I was reading something, and I was like, does it hurt when, like, antlers get broken? Like, it was one of those random thoughts, you know, like, do antlers actually hurt when they break, you know? Because, I mean, I know deer and stuff shed them. And turns out, yeah, it actually, because the bone in there actually is endings in there until they actually kind of decay and shed and rot on their own naturally. If you break them, they actually hurt like hell. So I'm like, oh, that poor guy. But the person says, hey, listen, I'm not letting Rotta go. Rotta's fight tomorrow night is actually a death match fight where I'm going to make sure he loses and I'll find somebody new. And hey, I've never had a Mandalorian fight here. You want to earn some money? The man is like, no. Betrayals happen. And that's weird, is that I looked at my watch because the midway point of this movie is literally the end of an episode. Rotta and him have, there's a betrayal. Rotta and him get into an argument. They team up in the gladiator pits, make their escape. He's not going to turn Rotta over to the Hutts because Rotta actually has some secret information. And it turns out that his owner is actually the Imperial, because no one ever said the guy's last name. They capture him. Turns out Sigourney Weaver. She says, you're messy, you cross the Hutts, but oh well, who cares? The Hutts are out in Hutt space and we don't have jurisdiction there. And he goes home. And there's this like touching goodbye between Rotta and Baby Yoda. And the episode ends and I'm like, wow, this is like the end. Like, this feels like a finale moment, like an end of an episode. I looked at my watch. It's like, was an hour 5 in. I'm like, but there's another hour and like 10 to this film because the film teases us, as it would the end of an episode, somebody was spying on Mando. And then before
you go too much further from that point, the Rotta's last fight, they said it's a Dejarik fight, which do you know Dejarik in Star Wars?
No.
It's the chess game that Chewie and R2 were playing in A New Hope with the little holographic characters, and monster chess. I suggest you that's Dejarik. And so the monsters that they're fighting in the pit in the Dejarik fight are the monster pieces from the chessboard.
Okay, that's kind of cool.
I liked it, but I was really thrown off for like 10 seconds when I saw the first monster, and I was like, why is Dejarik the chess game, but am I confusing myself? And then I saw the guy with the club, and I was like, oh, that's the piece that R2 moved. And then the first one that we saw, that's the one that, the club is the one Chewie moves. And then the guy with the long neck that goes, rawr, that's R2's move that he like throws him down.
Picks him.
And I was like, okay, I get it. I got it. And then actually they show like a pan out, and the actual arena floor is like a Dejarik board as well.
Okay. All right. That's okay. You know what? That's cool. That's cool.
It's a nice little touch. Like, that's a nice little Easter egg for people that know the Star Wars stuff. But at the same time, like, anyone that hears a Dejarik fight, they're not going to know what the fuck that means.
I thought it was like a Mando thing or some shit.
I assumed it was like a monster fight at first because I forgot Dejarik. And then, like, as I kept saying it a couple more times, it's like, no, Dejarik is the chess game. And then I just thought, maybe, like, is it the card game? It's like, no, that's Sabak. I know way too much about this shit. Which, like, that's not even, that's like surface level Star Wars nerd deep diving shit. But yeah, like, I thought that was like a really neat little touch of like, oh, we're completely just saying like, oh, all the monsters from the chess piece, that's this fight. And I thought that was just a nice little touch. But please continue with the plot. So Mando gets hunted by another bounty hunter, which
are we supposed to know who this is?
Can again continue. It's a guy from the Clone Wars. It's Filoni playing in his sandbox and playing with his favorite toys.
Because all I could think of, it's not Raiden. That's all I could think of, because there's like a special helmet hat that apparently is made out of Beskar or some shit. And
Yeah,
it has a cool
he's
look.
Kung Lao.
He has like this vague samurai-esque with a cool kind of like that helmet that like kind of not walk, but that kind of like sloped metal helmet thing that you see in films like Mortal Kombat, Big Trouble in Little China kind of thing. I was like, okay, looks cool, looks badass. Yeah, he ragdolls Mando, which kind of sucks, but I mean, he wasn't expecting a fight, and he was more concerned about getting the Fricks away as well as Baby Yoda than defending himself. So okay, yeah, that's cool. I liked it.
Yeah, the bounty hunter's name is Embo, who again is from he's from the Clone Wars. He's part of Cad Bane's crew of bounty hunters, which Cad Bane would have been a perfect bad guy for this, but they had to waste him in the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, so Mando gets captured. The Fricks show up, which
The Anzelians,
say,
Star Wars answer to the minions.
Yeah, I gotta say, the 20-minute, no, not 20 minutes, the 15-minute 15-minute puppet sequence, I loved.
It's amazing.
Yeah, because Mando gets captured, he gets dehelmeted by the Hutts. They're like, yeah, we have disgraced you. You will never be with your people again. And my wife leaned over and whispered, doesn't matter. We already know he knows where the waters are. He can just go rebathe himself. And then, like, if he does, maybe we'll finally see the armor.
To rewrite the code. They're eventually going to have to just rewrite the code. Din, you can't just keep showing your face and then taking a bath. That's not how this is supposed to work.
No. That's when it turns into the kind of the lusty situation, because then we have a situation where it's like, well, after your second unmasking, the armorer has to bathe you herself.
Oh, Alex is getting into his fanfic now.
Yes. But yeah, we get our brief 10-minute obligatory Pedro Pascal scene where he has to fight.
Which I love Grogu
snake.
looking so big in the Anzellan ship. Like,
yes,
that's even just too big, a little too small even for him. And I'm just like, I love it. It's adorable.
Yeah. So the Fricks were there because he got a new Razor Crest, which apparently I think they literally said they got from a museum, or a collector said he had
it from a collector. Yeah, and they refurbished it back to factory setting.
Yeah, it's back. So he has the Fricks there to redo everything. He gets taken, and Baby Yoda has never been more apparent that Baby Yoda is just Gizmo shaved when he does his armor up sequence. And mind you, I'm a sucker because we have the Sideshow Collectibles life-size Baby Yoda that is built off the cast where they made the Baby Yoda, and with hand-punched hair and all that stuff. And he has his little outfit, and it's great. About 2 months ago, when the trailer dropped, Sideshow let us know that those accessories are being made, do fit the Baby Yoda, so you can put them on, and will be, and so I immediately pre-bought it. My wife, in the movie, when Baby Yoda does the dress-up sequence with putting on like the bit of Beskar, like shielding, the little new wrist thingy he has, and some other like little satchel thingy, she leaned over and said, "You did order that, right?" I went, "Yes, I ordered it, honey." So he does his Gizmo, dress up a bit.
Gremlins 2, Battle Gear, Rambo up. Yep.
The Fricks all get in their little tiny ship, which I agree with you. I love that they have a little ship. Baby Yoda's too big for it, so he's like hunched in there like a Wookiee.
And the first time he sees them too, like I'm so glad they brought back the bad baby bit, where he loves the Anzellans, the Babu Fricks so much, and they're just like, bad baby, no, bad baby, stay away. And he's so disappointed.
Yeah,
it's like a kid that sees a cat that they love, but the cat's like, oh no, I remember you. No.
Yep.
And then they like Din gave him like the go. He's like, are you going to behave? He's like, yep. Okay, you can go play. And then he just like goes and helps the Babu Fricks do their thing. But yeah, that's great.
I love it. And we get like probably 10, 15 minutes of just them. And what I love about it is that you can tell that it's the puppet work, that they trust themselves enough to work with the puppetry versus just all CGI, because the Baby Yoda's not quite moving as smoothly as it should because it's the puppet moving. And then the Fricks are all moving and it's not quite completely natural because they're doing this either stop motion or whatever rudimentary walking mechanics they have going for there. They probably have CG out lines and wires and stuff. But I love it because it brings the world down to a smaller scale, and you're watching a different environment. And you're watching them interact with each other. And what's great is that as you said, the Fricks all speak kind of high pitched and kind of funny, and Baby Yoda coos and stuff. But we get a nice little break-in montage to go rescue Mando, and I absolutely loved it. That's where I felt like I'm like, there's a little bit of that Star Wars joy. There's a little bit of that fun.
Another praiseworthy item I have for this film is in the visual effects department. The two droid guards at the front of the twins' palace door. Those things looked like they came straight out of a Go Motion from the 80s and early 90s before Jurassic Park happened.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't look like they were computer generated. They looked like Ed 209 from RoboCop, which is a Go Motion where they like I forget the proper way to do it, but it's not exactly stop motion. It's what is it? Harryhausen is the guy that did like the Odyssey and all those like weird
Odyssey,
epics with
Jason and the Argonauts.
That's right. Yeah. So like they're clearly computer generated, but the way they're moving and the way they're on screen, they render them in such a way that it looked like Go Motion. And I appreciated that so much because it looks like the Rancor from Return of the Jedi. That's Go Motion. It's obviously not in screen, and the actor is obviously not really doing anything with it, but the actor's being told, like, there's a big thing, you got to dodge, and you got to roll, and you got to do all these other things. And it's just a really nice callback to old school Hollywood. Even though it's made in a computer, it looks like it was made in the 80s and the early 90s before computer generation was really refined. And I really loved that touch that they put on those two things in particular. And then, like you're saying, the puppetry and just giving into letting the puppets not look perfect in their movements and everything else, and just letting the puppetry do its thing and be immersive in its own unique and quirky way.
Yeah, I agree. So I looked it up. If I said the name Shirley Henderson, do you know who that is?
Is she the voice of one of the minions?
The Fricks.
She is the voice of the Fricks. Yeah. I knew there was some woman that was the voice of the Anzelians, which again, it's more or less like Disney went, oh, hey, these are our minions, because they speak funny and people occasionally understand them, or they speak normal.
Do you know who she is outside of the Star Wars universe, though?
Oh, I have no idea.
She is the creepy 30-year-old woman that looks 16 that spies on Harry Potter. She's Moaning Myrtle.
Really? I can hear that.
Yeah. Now that I looked up, I was like, Shirley Henderson. I saw her picture. I was like, it's Moaning Myrtle. Like, hey, good on her.
Yeah, like that voice is super annoying being ADR'd over a supposed forever dead 16-year-old girl, but for some ugly aliens that are really good mechanics, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I find it really funny. I was like, oh, that's who it is. But I'm not being ageist. She literally is 60 years old. She
was 30 when they were filming those.
Yeah, she was 30, and the kids were like 10, 11, and she's hanging up bathtubs.
Yeah, that wasn't awkward at all.
Well, I didn't realize she was that old. She filming those movies, she looked like she was a teenager like them.
It's amazing what glasses and a pigtail will do to someone.
Yeah.
I should say pigtails. They didn't put a pigtail on her. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they did. Maybe that was part of Moaning Myrtle's problem. The basilisk just thought she tasted like ham.
Yeah. How do you feel about our 15-minute Ewok adventure portion of the film?
after Din gets poisoned by the really cool penis snake from the water,
Dragon snake.
Penis snake, yep. That sequence, I was ready for them to just do the like, oh, the world is gonna heal him, the Force is gonna heal him, whatever. I was ready because like it didn't feel like the movie was gearing up towards Grogu having like a mini survival Grogu alone episode. And sure enough, they gave us a 15-minute sequence where Grogu's just surviving out on his own. And like him building the little Yoda hut and banging Din's head against the thing because he didn't build it deep enough was funny. I think that could have been done once. I don't think they needed him to be like, huh? Let me try that again
Like
and do it 2 more
4
times.
times?
Because it's the rule of 3. So the third time is going to be extra funny, but like it really wasn't. It was really just like, you're really trying to drive home that Grogu is stupid. I don't know what you're trying to prove here. Like it should have been, he hits it once, maybe he tries one more time, then he just hangs his head. But I think doing it a third time was overkill, even in this instance. But that whole sequence, I think, could have been changed from him being poisoned to him like maybe breaking his leg, or just something where he is immobilized and then he tells Grogu to like scout the area. Because there's no real drama here, and then they have to like manufacture a new character to show up out of nowhere to be like, oh hey, bounty hunter guy showed up and said your friend, I assume your friend, he says he's looking for you and one other person, so I assume this other person is with you. You're not going to say any of this to me because you're Grogu, you don't speak. So I'm just going to infer all of this from someone else who may be an unreliable narrator or setting up a trap for you or for me. Here's some antidote for the poison. He may be dead already. I don't know, but make sure he eats this. Like, get rid of all that. You don't need it. He's inferring too much. Just have him need time to recover. And then Grogu just like goes out and scouts and forages and does whatever. And they're hiding still. So like you still get to do baby Grogu making the baby Yoda hut. You can work around a lot of that, but like that poison fix really bothered me because it was so unnecessary, because Grogu does not grow in any of these moments other than us seeing him like meditating. He's doing what he can to like try and survive, which like he would have to do that if Din was even just hurt and unable to move. There are a lot of different things they could do. Like if there are fixes in this movie, you can either chop that entire sequence out or you can adjust it to make it so that Din is just like the next morning he's better. You don't need Grogu to find some random third party to then be exposited to off screen from someone else to then be like, here's an antidote to a poison that I don't know if it's actually the poison that the thing is, but hopefully it works. Like that part just, it wasn't right.
You can tell that part was going to be an episode by itself. The Mandalorian tends to be somewhere between 26 to 55 minutes before credits. So you can see that this would be an episode. The Mando is injured. Baby Yoda's doing Baby Yoda stuff. They probably would have had more moments with that. It was a cool creature effect. That person just living out there. It was
a really cool creature design. Yeah, like I don't hate having that character get included. Like if you just want him to be what he was, where Grogu just needed food and he didn't know how to get some, and then he's like, oh, some random weird fisherman, I'm going to steal from him, and then like the fisherman obviously knows he's there, so he starts like maybe leaving stuff for him, and then they like just start bonding a little bit. There's little things you can do, but the only thing that I hate is Din being poisoned and then them manufacturing the antidote. That whole part can go.
Yeah, one of the things that got pointed out to me was my wife said, so this is where Baby Yoda literally becomes Baby Yoda. Because as Baby Yoda's walking around a jungle with a swamp and builds his little mud hut, apparently the Yodas must also grab canes. Because Baby Yoda walks around with a cane for a while.
It's just instinctual.
Yeah, I didn't particularly like that part because to me, what?
One day I rolled over a log and found a stick, and I thought that log had a child. Rocking and rolling. That's a bad lip reading reference for those who did not understand that one.
I realized that would have been a longer sequence. It would have been much more expanded upon, as you said, building the trust. Because my only thought is that I get Baby Yoda is adorable, but every person he runs across loves him, doesn't mind him being stealing, and like talks to him like he's an adult. And I'm like, can't he run across one asshole? So when that person, like, so he stole, I'm like, okay, he stole from me, went back, and the person's only reaction is, you must be the one who stole my fish. Well, here's some more. And I'm like, and then immediately hides him from the bounty hunter. I'm like, oh, come on. That's the only part I didn't particularly like. But I enjoyed seeing Baby Yoda on his own. And like I said, I enjoyed him with the Fricks. I think if we get a season 4, we need to have more of that. We need to have a little bit more of Baby Yoda growing up, because I get he's tiny and 10, 4, I don't know how old he's supposed to be.
He's
but
in his 60s, but like if
Yeah.
I'm assuming in Yoda years, like every 10 years is like 1 year of person life. So he's like an underdeveloped 6-year-old at this point, or at least a nonverbal 6-year-old.
Yeah, because like sharks, elephants, they live long. Their children are not like 100-year-old like turtle is not a 10-year-old turtle. So there's, I get it. We're playing with time and we're playing with the passage of it. Like, I mean, like that means that we assume like in Elvish folk, a lot of people assume in Elvish folklore that once you hit 100, like, you know, your elf is like a teenager kind of thing. I'm like hell no. Elvish parents would not be having kids if it's like you have to raise this little bastard for 150 years before it moves out. Hell no. But yeah, once Mando's better, they go back and they commit some war crimes. But the thing I love about this movie is that, as I mentioned before, where Mando is getting back to being Mando. And at the end of that sequence, when he comes back in and he starts kicking ass and taking names and destroying all the droid army in Hutt, and he walks in with his rifle and he points the rifle at the Hutts, and the Hutts try to make a deal with him. He says, "No, you've seen my face. It's time to die." And I was like, thank God we're back to being the Mando. That this is the Mando who's like, I have my rules. I have my life. I am a member of this cult through and through. And I was a little disappointed that then the bounty hunter Enbo came back and started a fight with him. I was like, okay, whatever. But that is when I realized, oh, the Mando is back. Like Filoni, not Filoni. Jon Favreau is basically, hey, I'm pulling my character as much as I can in moments back to my season 1, season 2 character. I am bringing him back. I've heard the feedback, guys. He's going back that way, which I actually did appreciate when what's his name? Pascal got the helmet removed and the Hutt started taunting him. He didn't really particularly care a whole lot until they said, after we're done killing you, we're going to do the same thing to your little friend. And then you could see the rage emerge. He's like, oh, okay, screw with me is fine.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate it.
Don't mess with my kid.
Yeah. Are you okay with this is a clickbait article I saw, and I made a mistake of actually reading it. But at the end of it, it's basically the summation was, does the Republic do war crimes? And it was because to save him, the Fricks bring in the cavalry. And so Sigourney Weaver and all of the cameo X-Wing pilots show up, and they basically blow up Hutt, which is outside of their jurisdiction, and they're doing it to extract one dude. And there's a lot of innocent Hutts in that building. Supposedly innocent Hutts.
Yeah, innocent Hutts is like saying an innocent Trump. No such thing.
I thought you were going to say orc, but close enough.
Orca, no such thing as an innocent orca. Those I love orcas. They're bastards, but they're at least awesome.
Hey, there's a movie called The Orca, and it is about an orca hunting people down to the ends of the earth, and it traumatized me seeing it
They
as a
hold
child.
grudges.
They
they're
teach
amazing
their
too.
children to hunt yachts, which, hey, I don't have a problem with that either.
Hey, class warfare starts with the orcas right now. But what you're talking about with Mando getting unmasked and like that's like simmering, seething rage once he gets the helmet removed. He's just like, Jesus Christ, now I have to kill these guys. And then they threaten Grogu, and then he's like, oh no you didn't. And that's when I started realizing like there's a plot thread that seemingly got cut that was at least teased in the trailers, because there's a line in at least 2 of the trailers that they've used even recently where uh Mando says in a voiceover like the kid's gonna outlive me for hundreds of years, and I have to teach him to be okay with that. And like it seemed like there was going to be a subplot of Mando kind of teaching Grogu and explaining to Grogu like, hey, I'm getting older. There's going to come a day where you are either going to have to take care of me or I'm just going to be gone and you're going to have to be able to survive. This is part of what we're doing with your training. And there's one throwaway line almost throwaway line where after he gets better, Grogu wakes up the next morning and Mando's no longer in the 2/3 Yoda hut that can fit Mando. And Mando's no longer in there. He's getting a drink of water or something. And Grogu turns around, sees him at the stream, and Mando says something to the effect of the old protect the young, and then the young protect the old. This is the way. And
Yeah,
I'm
I
like,
like that.
if you were doing that thing from the trailer, this would have been meaningful. This means nothing right now other than you working in a this is the way line.
I can see what you're saying. It was not a fully developed plot for sure, especially from the line in the trailer made it seem. But it was mentioned. Someone else mentioned it too, though, that Baby Yoda's going to outlive him.
Hutts were like you had said. The Hutts were like threatening him, like, "Oh, you're going to live for however much longer we want you to live, but Grogu's going to live for hundreds of years, and Hutts live for hundreds of years. We can make his life miserable."
I for some reason I felt like that was said somewhere on the Blade Runner planet. I feel like there was a line in there, like the guy mentioned, like, "Hey, can I buy Grogu from you when you die," or something like that.
Maybe
because eventually they put but
or maybe
I
it was when he was talking with Rotta when they first met. I you might be right, but again, it almost felt like a throwaway line of dialogue at that point.
But no, it's not a through line like you said. I do, however, like that is what he said though. I mean, because to me it was Mando acknowledging the Hutt's threat, that like the old protect the young, then the young protect the old. This is what I don't. It doesn't bother me as much, but you're right. They did just get that in there to add another like tenement to the oaths that he took.
And it is kind of an acknowledgement of what Grogu was able to accomplish in healing him and helping him survive. It felt like it was intended to have more weight than it, at least for me, it felt like it did in execution.
Oh yeah, no, I can completely respect that, because it should have hit a little harder, but it didn't, because at no point did like Mando stop breathing and Baby Yoda healed him, and at no point when after giving him the medicine, the antidote, when Baby Yoda woke up on his own, did I think Mando was dead or stolen or something like that. So there's no fake out death or anything. So there's not enough emotionality behind that line. But yeah, I can understand very much that it didn't hit as hard as it should. But that does make me remember the last thing I want to mention. I appreciate that this movie is, in theory, small scale. There's really only 4 planets. Well, I guess if you count the not Hoth, there's the landing planet. There is wherever the heck. There's the Hoth planet. There's wherever the heck that the Republic is, but that's really just a base. They show his house, Mando's house, and then you have Blade Runner, and then you have Hutt. They're not capturing every warlord in the world. They are not stopping a Death Star. No other Jedi emerge out of somewhere. They didn't even tease like one of the kids in the background was like playing with the Force or something. Baby Yoda's the only Force person. They kept it for a Star Wars movie grounded and focused around an adventure, not a world-changing one. And I really particularly like that.
I agree 100%. It's very focused on what it wants to do, and it executes it. And I think, like I said, if this was an in-between of season 1 and 2, and they had released it back in, it probably would have released in 2020, 2021 before Mando season 2 started, I think this would have done gangbusters. But because we're so many years past season 3 and a really disappointing season 3 and a really disappointing season 2.5 with the Book of Boba Fett, the interest in something like this is very minimal at this point. Like, my theater had maybe a grand total of 16 people in it, and most of those were people from one group that decided to sit behind me and Ricky and kick our seats. So, like, it's not really attracting the right, I shouldn't say the right people. It doesn't seem to be attracting enough people. Everyone just, that's a Disney Plus show I'm watching. It'll be on Disney Plus soon enough.
It's going to be the lowest opening for a Star Wars film. And when you adjust for inflation, that makes it even worse. However, it does have a lower budget. So I think this will be an interesting test for Lucasfilm, because next year we're supposed to get Starfighter, right? Which is again set in this time frame. It is another Wolf and Cub movie because it's about what's his name?
Ryan Gosling.
There you go, Ryan Gosling from all those movies. Him like as a star pilot saving a young kid. So another Wolf and Cub thing. And I don't know what the budget of that one is. I haven't looked into it. Don't particularly care. But is this going to be that they are going to be dealing with Star Wars movies that are more controlled budgets, we're just looking for a simple return? Or do they take the wrong lesson from this and they have another year? Do they start bumping up the action, add a Luke Skywalker cameo to that film, try to tie it more into stuff? I don't know. But it's a solid movie. And I hope this movie does well enough to give Lucasfilm some kind of guiding light as to what they want to do. Because if they panic from this, stuff some Skywalker Jedi stuff into Starfighter, and then try to quickly roll out the Rey movie, which apparently has been backburnered or canceled, or they try to fast track 10, 11, 12 before Luke Hamill becomes a really old man, or heck, maybe they'll make 4.5, 4.6, and 4.7 with Sebastian Stan. I would not be opposed to that.
I mean, if we're doing anything with Star Wars, people want something that has weight. I don't know how you do that at this point by doing anything between episodes 6 and 7. You have to figure out how to do it after what you did with episode 10. You can create more meat on that bone if you are willing, but they're just stuck in this idea that people only want to see the things that they know instead of the things that they didn't know that they wanted and growing with it. It's a really fine line to cross, and it's a tightrope act. There are ways to do it, I'm sure. But if they wanted to do a Sebastian Stan led Luke Skywalker film that's set after the events of episode 6, and again, it's just a little one-off adventure or like a 2 or 3 part adventure that doesn't really carry the weight of the galaxy on it, I'd be okay with that. I don't mind. It doesn't have to be a galaxy ending adventure.
Heck, you want a Star Wars film that has a strong male and female Jedi lead? Yeah, give me a Luke Skywalker one. Have him find Mara Jade. Mara Jade in the books is freaking amazing. She is in some ways more powerful than him and holds her own, and they have a great relationship in those books. You guys Lucasfilm got rid of all of them, said, hey, they're expanded or discontinued universe, whatever the heck their term for it is. But they pull little bits and pieces from that occasionally. Give us Skywalker or Mara Jade. Hell yeah. I would love to see that. And hey, she's not in 7, 8, 9. Okay. Either lightly discontinue those by pretending they don't exist, like that Lucasfilm Marvel may be doing with Doomsday, if rumors are correct, or she lived and she passed away during that time. It's a one film. You can say how Luke fell in love.
There's a 40-year time gap. You can easily just be like, she lived and died.
Yeah.
Just because just because we don't mention her in episode 7 doesn't mean she didn't exist.
Hell, Kylo Ren could have killed her. He massacred everyone in that Jedi temple. Could have massacred her to let Luke escape. Maybe that's partially why Luke is in exile. He didn't necessarily say it, but he could be partially in exile because his wife died defending him so that he preserves the Force, and that's part of the reason that makes 8 even deeper. Why is Luke in exile? Why is he tormented? Well, part of it is he's a slacker Jedi trainer because he did the wrong things with Kylo Ren, and Mara died because of it. You could add subtext without necessarily saying they're plot holes.
But I would say Mando and Grogu, I would say must see on our binary scale of must see or pass. I don't think it's I can't say it's must see TV or must see movie, like, oh, get your $20 out and go to the theater. If that's all you got, like, you can wait. But I think it's a pretty good movie, and it's a fun one-off adventure. Like, if this is our first introduction into the Mandalorian, and we didn't and he just has a baby Yoda with him, and then all of a sudden it's a backdoor pilot into the origin of those two, like, this is fun. This is an interesting adventure. It just, people want it to have these, like, this weight behind it, and in that sense it is relatively weightless, but it's still fun where it needs to be.
And to me, it's a must-see as well. I enjoyed it. I just have to go in with the lowered expectation that this is not a quote-unquote Star Wars movie. This is a Mandalorian movie. And this is as good as we're going to get until they announce season 4. And it's a bit of a reset for the relationship of Mando and Grogu and bringing back the Mando that I loved from seasons 1 and 2.
Which version of Mando do you like? Which version of Star Wars do you like? You can let us know in the Discord in our May the Force Be With You chat channel. Alex, let everyone know more about the Discord.
tsmackpod@gmail.com. There's a link down below. It's where we don't really do our socials too much, so it's where we post our movie news, thoughts, opinions, sports news and stuff like that. Like, hey, did you know that apparently this weekend, which is the weekend before this episode comes out, that apparently they're doing the steroid games, the steroid Olympics out in Vegas?
Of course it's in Vegas.
Yeah, like the pharmaceutical companies are touting it, and like, yeah, it's gonna be like, they call them the enhanced games, and they got like 58 roided people who are apparently doing shot put and all that other crap from the Olympics.
Sure, okay. But yeah, as Alex said, you can join the Discord by clicking the link in the episode description, or if you're already on Discord, you can find us using our email address. You can find us on social media. We are on Letterboxd, Blue Sky, Facebook, YouTube. We are at Talking Smack Pod. You can email us your thoughts, questions, reviews, comments, concerns, SmackDown suggestions at tsmackpod@gmail.com. Thank you to Leo Allen for musical themes, Beppo for our original avatars, Retro AL Studios for our Ricky avatar. Please like, subscribe, rate, review on your podcatcher of choice. If you are on Twitter, don't forget to tweet at Trey Smack, the Green Bay Packers' new kicker, and say, hey, look at those Talking Smack mentions. They want you on the podcast. We want you on the podcast. T-Smack on T-Smack. Let's make it happen. Alex, thank you as always so much for being here. Listeners, thank you so much for taking the time to listen. There's a TV show out there that people should be watching, Alex. It takes place in space, has a silver ship. What TV show should people be watching?
The Orville, but it got canceled, so Star Trek?
One day I was walking and I found this big log. Then I rolled the log over, and underneath was a tiny little stick. And I was like, that log had a child.